All right, so we are lesson 10-1, model volume. We're on page 587. Jean is building a rectangular prism out of sugar cubes for her art class project. She started by drawing a diagram of the rectangular prism that is 4 cubes high and 4 cubes long. How many cubes does she use to make the prism? Solve the problem any way you can. So if we're looking at our structure from the front, we see a front view. So we can tell looking at the front view, when we add these up, we have 16 cubes. And the side view is 1 cube thick, and the top view is 1 cube thick. So it's like a wall of the thickness of 1 cube. So if we were going to try to figure out how many cubes did she need to build this wall, you would know she only needed 16 of them. So what happens if it's the side view is bigger or the top view is bigger? So that's what we're going to be talking about today as we talk about volume of solids. So in this shape at the bottom, you can see it's definitely not just one cube thick. So let's take a look at what we have here. If you look at the front view, she's got 6 cubes. And if you look at how many times that front view repeats, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could say 6 times 4 is 24. So in order for her to build this shape, she would need 24 cubes, is another way you could say it. And if you were going to actually solve it using an algorithm, the formula for volume, you would say it's 3 cubes wide, or 3 cubes long, 4 cubes wide, and 2 cubes high. So you'd have 12 times 2, and the volume would equal 24. And we call these cubic units right now because we don't know what they are, if they're inches or whatever they are. Well, they're just cubes that you could play with at home. If you have some, you can build some of these objects on your own at home. So here's the difference between a unit cube and a cubic unit. Volume is the number of cubic units needed to pack a solid figure without gaps or overlaps. A cubic unit is the volume of a cube measuring 1 unit on each edge. What is the volume of this rectangular prism? So this little guy here is called a unit cube. It's something you could pick up and move and touch with your hands. It's measured in cubic units. So if I say, how many unit cubes would I need to build this object right here? How many of these little blocks would I use? How many unit cubes? So I can count them up from what I can see in the front. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 in the front, and it's a thickness of 3. So I could say 10 times 3, which would be 30. So I would know I would need 30 units altogether. You could also just look at the top layer, count up the top layer. And the top layer is 5 by 3. So I have 15 on the top layer, 15 on the bottom layer. So 15 times 2 is 30. So either way, we can get, you can get 30. Oh boy, I'm in a mess here. All right. So in the pictures below, how many unit cubes does it take to make the rectangular prism? So now we're saying you've got a unit cube, like you're playing with your building blocks from when you were little. You have a unit cube that's actually 2 units, like connected. So how many of these little 2-unit cube structures would it take to build this structure? Well, altogether, I can count that there's 8 cubes. But if I'm building it with double unit cubes, I only will need 4 altogether. I would need 4 of these unit cubes to build this structure. And all my Lego people out there and anybody who plays some of those games where you're building, this is going to be an easy unit for you guys. Make a model of a rectangular prism with the bottom layer 3 cubes long by 3 cubes wide. Make a top layer that's the same bottom layer. Then draw a picture and what is the volume. So if we have 3 cubes, 1, 2, 3 is my bottom layer, and I have 3 cubes wide, 1, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have my structures 3 is my length right here, times 3, which is my width right here, and they want one more layer on top. So my height, I know, a terrible drawing, but my height, my height is going to be 2. So 3 times 2, volume equals the length times the width times the height. So I'm going to have 9 times 2. So I'm going to have 18 unit cubes. And we put a 3 there to show cubic. We put a 2 to show square. What is the difference between a cubic unit, a unit cube, and a cubic unit? Well, a unit cube has a measure of 1 unit long on each edge. A cubic unit is a unit of measurement. So a unit cube is actually like, if you want to think of it as a physical cube. And a cubic unit is the measurement. So in our problem above here, this is made up of 18 unit cubes, and it has a measurement of 18 cubic units. I know, it's a little crazy and confusing. So using unit cubes, those would be the actual things that you could touch in your hand, and making a model, what would the volume be of these guys? If you don't even have your unit cubes, you just measure. 2, I'm doing the base right here now. 2 is my length and 2 is my width. So it's 2 across and 2 back. And my height is 2. So 2 times 2 times 2, we wind up with 8 cubic units. And for number 4, we're going to count our length, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our width is 2 and our height is 1. So our volume is going to be 12 times 1. So our volume is 12 cubic units. And that's all we're doing today. If you need to use a calculator to help you out, you can. Good luck.